hard work, tenacity, consistency, good character, all those things is what I see in Damon, of what has sustained him through genres, through generations, through being the cool kid on the block at the time, and then having to rebuild and reinvent and all those things. And I think that would be very valuable for you to hear. A lot of you are on the front end of where that's headed and where you are, but how do you want to do this forever, whether it's an artist or a writer? So Damon is my real friend, and I invited him here, and it's so gracious that he had a big session tonight, and he was like, oh no, I'm going to be there. So he came here, and he's just a very good character and a great man. I'm glad I know him, and I'm super happy you guys get to hear him. Damon Sharpe, welcome to the stage.
Thank you, guys. Thanks for having me. Yeah, I'll sit, because once I start going, I'm a typical artist, so I have OCD, ADHD, all the D's. I think we all do. I think we're all a little on the spectrum if we're creative, so I need to be like kind of seated. Okay, perfect, thanks. Awesome. So I guess, you know what, I guess I want to start off asking you guys some questions first and foremost. So how many people do we have that are singers first and foremost? Okay, a lot. How many of you are musicians first and foremost? Okay, amazing. How many of you do a little bit of both? Okay, great. Okay, so that's almost everybody. That's awesome. I think for me, like, I'm kind of a self-professed, jack of all trades, master of none. But I think at this point, I've realized that's kind of kept me here as long as I've been, because wearing multiple hats, you'll find out there's so many, Stephen can tell you as well, there's so many like ups and downs. And I don't care if you're Timbaland or Pharrell or whoever you are, there's always going to be those dips that you guys are going to go through in your careers. And I think understanding something I call the art of the pivot is super important, because God willing, you're able to be, let's say, you want to be the next John Legend, right? For example, right? And for whatever reason that music is not taking off, and you're like, you know what? Another door to your left starts to open. If you go through that door, I will tell you 9 times out of 10, that door can lead you right back to the door that you wanted to be in, as long as it's somewhat parallel and adjacent. Because in music, there's obviously so many aspects. Just in the world of creativity, there's so many aspects, right? You've got singers, you've got dancers, you've got videographers, you've got choreographers, you've got creative directors. Now there's so many new things coming in the fold with AI, right? Which we'll touch on that later. I definitely want to touch on that, because I think a lot of people are incredibly fearful of AI, and I think they're concerned that it's going to eradicate what we love to do as real musicians. I don't feel that way. I think it's a tool that we need to harness and put in our tool belt and utilize. And then we can be ahead of the curve that way. But yeah, I don't know. Do you want me to kind of start from the beginning, or do you have like specific things you want me to kind of touch on?
The biggest things that I've seen in his career is being relevant in riding those mountains. Like some of the journey of when you thought it was going to happen, you as an artist even.
Yeah.
I remember we had those talks. You're like, I don't know, they're throwing money at me to do this.
Yeah.
But something else is happening. So give an example of one of those pivots.
Yeah, I mean, when we met, I was in a very successful, well, at least I thought it was, maybe it wasn't, a successful boy band at the time. It was called Guys Next Door. It was like a total ripoff of New Kids on the Block. But like Steve said, we were basically too late to the party for that pop wave, and we were right before NSYNC and Backstreet. So we were kind of in that weird pocket. But, so we went from like being on the cover of teen magazines and having our own dolls and a board game to like canceled. The show's canceled. The record deals were peeled, literally on unemployment. And I told my friends I went from taking pictures with Will Smith like this as a peer to 2 years later serving him a Pepsi as a waiter. So it was an incredible life lesson and humbling. And sorry, I always get... Sorry. I always get emotional when I tell this story, because I'm just blessed to be here today. You know what I mean? It's been so many years, and it was such a fight to get where I am today, and I'm so thankful that I can be here to help guide you guys, and hopefully you don't have to make the same mistakes that I did. Whew. It's good. You gotta let it out. That's the other thing that I'll tell you guys. Like, and we were talking about it over here in the room, like allowing your feelings to come out and not being afraid. And I think especially we live in a little bit of a toxic masculinity world where they look down on that if you're emotional. And I think if you can get in touch with that and channel that, like you can obliterate the competition, right? You have to lean into it. And you have to understand who you are. And that all comes back to my key thing that I always tell artists that I think is the most important at the end of the day, more than marketing, more than promotion, and it's authenticity. So if you can find your true authentic self and then figure out how to package that, it will resonate. Think about all the artists that you've loved over the years. You're not just loving their music, you're usually connecting with who they are. And you may, like you said, you may go stream their music, you may go for free and like them on social media, but to go and actually show up to a show and buy some merch, there's got to be more of a connection than just music, right? Like you're actually connecting to what they're saying and what their authenticity is. So I think that's one of my biggest pieces of advice for everybody. So after that happened, it was many years of, well, not many years, probably like 2 or 3 years of what I called, the dark voices. And we all get those, right? It's somebody in the back of your mind saying, oh, you can't do it. It's never going to happen. Like, just give it up. And I think the key is don't buy into that. It's so easy because if you're not surrounded by amazing people that are supporting you, it's so easy to buy into those dark voices, right? So resist that at all costs because it happens like crazy. In every business, not just in music, in film, in any business. You can be a realtor and you're going to hear those dark voices. I'm not good enough. I'm not going to be able to do this. So I think that's incredibly important. And, once I don't even know what it was. I don't think there was a catalyst moment for me, but I remember at the time I was waiting tables and I was living with an ex-girlfriend that I was unhappy with and she wasn't supportive. And I just had like a kind of a moment where I just said, what are you doing, Damon? Like, go make your music and go start acting again and just go for it. I went back to school. I went back to like community college. I started training as my voice. I started taking every penny and renting studio space. Back then, it was not cheap. Like now you can get a laptop and some headphones and a keyboard and you can make music. Back then, it was $200 an hour to go into a studio and lay your ideas down. So, it was a labor of love, And then I guess, once I started putting the work in again, and this is the one thing I will tell you guys, if you put the work in and you persevere and you don't buy into the no's and you're just that much closer to the yes, something will connect. Like I said, I can't guarantee it's going to be the one that you want it to be, but something will connect if you put the work in, right? So for me, I got very fortunate. I got put into yet another failed boy band. I literally was signed 7 times and dropped 7 times as an artist. So that kind of tells you. The last one was with Sony. Tommy Mottola, who signed Mariah, signed me there as a vocalist. And luckily at that point, I already had my production and songwriting going. So I wasn't all in on that, where when it imploded, it didn't put me on another downward spiral. But once I started putting the work in, I got put into the next boy band. We went through literally 3 different labels in 3 years, dropped from every single deal. But the thing was, I got to meet my mentor, who kind of he was a producer by the name of Rick Wake, who was kind of like arguably the pop Quincy Jones of like 90 to like 2005, right? So he takes me under his wing as a boy band member, right? So I'm back in a boy band doing these kind of cheesy boy band songs, but I'm like, you know what, let me give it another go. But the whole time I'm over the shoulder of all the best producers and songwriters that he had signed to him. And I'm just becoming a student of the game. I'm literally the most annoying guy in that room. Like they were like, oh fuck, here he comes again. He's going to be over my shoulder. But I was like, what's that? It was Pro Tools. How do you fly that? Like, what did you do? Like almost like what I was talking with the keyboard. I'm like, all right, show me this, Kensington Mouse. What is that? So I spent those 3 years kind of honing my skills. And then that also came to a screeching halt. The last deal happened, got dropped. It was Warner Brothers record, got dropped. And I just went, wow, okay, now I'm back to unemployment again. I gotta figure this out. So I just started grinding, started writing with a lot of my friends. Like we would write songs on the floor of apartments. You know what I mean? We do whatever we had to do to get the ideas down. And then it was crazy because probably about 3 months after everything imploded and fell apart, I got a call from Rick, from my mentor. And he's like, I found this CD of songs. This is how old I am. CD of songs on my desk. And he's like, did you write these songs? And I was like, yeah, I've been trying to tell you for 3 years, I'm not just the cheesy boy band kid. Like, I really want to write and produce. And he's like, there's some great songs on here. He's like, I'm going to pitch these songs for you. He's like, would you come in and work with me as a writer? And I was like, I don't know, Rick. I was there 3 years. Like, it was really hard. He's like, enough said. He's like, let me just pitch these songs and I'll get back to you. So I kind of just hang up the phone going, I'm never going to hear from this guy again. I go back to business. I think like 2 months goes by. I get a call from a friend of mine I get a call from him and he's like, oh, I got 2 of your songs placed. And I'm like, okay, cool. I didn't really understand the gravity of the situation. He's like, do you know who Anastasia is? I was like, I don't. He's like, she's starting to blow up overseas. She wants to do your song, Love No Cost a Thing. And I'm like, okay, that's crazy. And he goes, there's an artist named Jennifer Lopez. Do you know who she is? And I was like, oh yeah, of course. Like, she had already like won for Selena and had a couple of #1 songs. He's like, she wants to do your song, Why'd You Lie to Me? I'm like, okay, great. And he's like, all right, I'm going to get back to you. Click. So again, because I've been through the ringer a few times already at this point. So I'm like, I'm not going to bank on it. I'm just going to go about my business. So maybe another 2 months goes by. I get a call from my friend who was working at a label as an intern. And she's like, Damon, did you write something for Jennifer Lopez? And I was like, maybe. She's like, go to the newsstand right now and pick up R&R. And I'm like, oh, what's R&R? She goes, just go. Just ask them. Don't know what it is. So I hightail it to the newsstand and I flip over the thing. I'm like, and I see... Sorry, it's like one of those life-changing moments that you can't ever not be fucking elated about. You know what I mean? So I see the song on the back of the thing. And then after that, it was game over at that point. You know what I mean? Rick's like, all right, are you going to sign with me? I'm like, you tell me where to go and I'll be there. Flew me to New York within a week. And then he and I went on a tear for about 7 or 8 years together, working on everything from the Chicago soundtrack to Celine Dion to so many different artists over those years. I'm so grateful for that. And then when that kind of came to an end, as all eras do, I ended up taking a little break. I put together a girl group that I got signed to Island Def Jam. I ended up getting a new publishing deal with Sony ATV, and I was there for about 5 years, putting together like a new catalog of songs. And then about 2021, when pandemic happened, I'm sorry, let me rewind. 2019, I started to kind of get a little fidgety and I was missing having an artist project. So I started DJing again. And I was nervous because I was like, oh my God, everybody's going to say, oh, he's just a producer songwriter. Like, he doesn't know what he's doing. He can't DJ. Like, nobody's going to care. And I just went for it, right? Wouldn't take no for an answer. Now for my artist side, as a DJ, I have like 100 million streams and I've released on like 10 different labels. And I started my own label and signing all new, like brand new DJs and artists to the label. And that's like been an incredible new, just kind of, I don't want to say it's my main thing, it's my side thing, because I'm still, production and songwriting is still my main thing. And then also along the way, sorry, I have so many, it's been many lives to get to this one, right? 1,000 lives searching for one. But yeah, even with K-pop, as Steven said, like I was really early on. I had a really good friend. I still do. He's still my friend, but he's Korean American. And this is like 2006. And he's like, they're doing it's Korea pop, it's K-pop. And I'm like, okay, cool. And like, he just started like placing all my records. So I got really fortunate and got in there super, super early. So I literally just finished working with Kevin Wu from K-pop Demon Hunters, and I'm in with a new K-pop girl group next week, girl set on JYP. So it's been one of those threads that's kind of stayed constant in my life. So I'm really thankful that I was open to trying something new, because I think a lot of us will, I don't want to say get a little jaded where you kind of poo-poo on the things that like you don't know, but that's the one thing that Rick did teach me was look for all the opportunities and keep your eyes open for other things that people aren't checking for. Like, for example, the Chicago soundtrack, like I personally didn't think that was going to work. And I liked theater growing up. Like, it wasn't that I don't like theater. I just didn't think it would translate in modern times. And Rick even sent us to go see the play. He gave us tickets. We went to see the play. And I remember coming back, and I was like, I told Greg, who was my writing partner, I was like, bro, nobody's gonna care about this. And then, so we weren't really working on it. A couple of weeks go by, and then Rick came in, and he's like, why aren't you guys working on the Chicago soundtrack? And we were both like, I don't know, I don't think this is gonna work. And he goes, come in my office. So we go in his office. This is how long ago it was. He brought in one of those things that roll out with the TV on it. Do you know what I'm talking about? Like the ones you had in school. So he brought in the AV cart and he put in the daily footage from the movie, just like a raw take of like 2 minutes. And I was like, and I got chills. I was like, this is gonna fucking work. So then we just started grinding out, and nobody else was doing this because Rick was the main one working on it. So we ended up landing 2 on there, and it got Grammy for best soundtrack. But it was, my point being, it was one of those ones that nobody was really checking for. So sometimes there's those things. If you're operating in your lane, find that entrance point. In other words, if you want to be the next Kendrick, don't sound just like Kendrick. Be you. You can pay homage to Kendrick, but you have to be the authentic you and find that lane that's open. You know what I mean? And sneak in that lane. And then, sorry, I'm just going, I jump around in the timeline a lot. It's kind of confusing, like a Christopher Nolan movie or something. So then about 2022, I was super cynical about, and this is probably going to be a good touch point for you guys. How many of you get annoyed having to do social media? Okay, oh, so a lot less than I thought. Okay, I thought everybody was gonna raise their hand. So I was kind of like that cynical guy that didn't want to do any sort of social media. I was like, oh, this is annoying. Like, I just want to make my music. And then I met a kid named Trenton. He was 18 at the time. He had been doing content since he was 10. And he's like, I'm coming over to your studio. I'm gonna let's talk. So I spent like an hour with him, and at the end he's like, I know what to do so you can do your socials and you won't hate it. And I'm like, all right, let's give it a shot. So we started doing consistent. I probably posted 3 to 4 times a week for the past 3 years. Now, granted, it took about probably 12 to 18 months for it to really convert, but now I do 3 to 4, paid brand social media postings a month. All very in my authentic niche. So like Pro Tools, Auto-Tune, Splice. I did a really big one with Microsoft in December. But yeah, so I guess my point being, I don't want to just go on and on and on, but I really want you guys to see the scope and see how, for me, I feel like I'm still sitting here because I'm willing to take chances and pivot and never allow yourself to get jaded. It's so easy because you're going to get 1,000 no's before you get that yes, and you can't let it dissuade you. I don't even know if that's a word. Is that a word? Dissuade. Okay. All right, we're putting it in the dictionary. You can't let it, because like I said, I've seen it too many times. No matter what level of success you get to, you're still going to get no's from people. And if you can persevere, this is the other thing. And this might sound a little jaded just to say this. It's not always the most talented person that wins. Sometimes it's just the person that puts in the work and puts the heart into it. Because I've seen people where I'm like, but whoa, like I give it to them because they worked their ass off and they found that little crack in the door and they kicked through the door. So yeah, that's kind of, I'm sure I'll have a ton of other things that will pop up, but I promise not to cry again.
So you can cry. You look like your dad when you cry. Okay, so people are taking this in, and the story is extremely powerful because you're painting a timeline of going. It's actually all hard, right?
Yeah.
You can't stop.
Yep. Well, if you love it, yeah. If you love it, you cannot stop.
And we get this emotion, or we get this excitement about, okay, this is all I needed to put me over the edge. I'm ready. I'm all in. And then tomorrow rolls around.
Yep.
What does all in mean? Like, is the starving artist a model? Is the having a job to have money, to not be stressed about rent? Like, how does that go? How did that go in your mind, and what are your opinions about it now?
Well, I think all in changed for me, right? It changes as you get older. I have a family now. I have a daughter and a wife, so that changes the equation a lot as you go. When I first started doing things, it was just all about work. I was a workaholic. It was the grind. There was nothing else that existed. I realize now, as I'm older, like all the things I used to make fun of, I do now. So gratitude lists, I made fun of. I do those every day. Meditation, I made fun of. I do it every day. Less drinking. Very minimal drinking, working out, give back, things like this. I want to come and I want to give back because I feel like it's my blessing too. You know what I mean? So all those things that I kind of used to make fun of, you realize as you get older, that's what creates the balance in your life. And then in my opinion, you will make better art. Right? Because now you have some balance in your life. And I know that's easier said than done because like you said, we are having to grind out, right? It's constant no matter what. And I think like you said, to touch on a couple of the things that you touched on, I think it's very important. I always tell any young artist, songwriter, until you're absolutely certain, keep that day job. I kept my day job pretty much up until I had my first big placement and publishing deal in place. I had a record deal in place and I was still waiting tables because I had seen what happens if you try to exit too quick. You have to like make sure you have that sustainability to feel so you can actually be creative and you're not sitting there and every song is about, I can't pay my bills. You know what I mean? It's like, it's an important thing.
Agreed.
Sorry.
So the to-do list tomorrow when we wake up is, okay, what am I good at? How do I evaluate? Do I have people around me that tell me the truth?
Yes.
Like a core group, a sounding board. How do you find the community that helps you? How many chances do you have to take to find that community, right?
I mean, a lot. I mean, it does take a village because it's like if you're fortunate enough to start achieving the success that you want to achieve, that team is only going to get bigger. And therefore, that also gets difficult because then you're like, oh my God, now I have to trust this person to be my attorney. I have this person as my publisher. I have this person as my personal manager. I have this person as my business manager. And those get really scary because suddenly, they're taking a piece of what you're making. So it gets a little bit scary, but as you said, you have to find those people. You will find them. It just takes time. I think a lot of that is also leaning into your peer group. I'm a firm believer of finding people through referrals. I think that's a way better way of operating. It's very tough to just take a cold meeting or send a cold email. If you can be referred by somebody, that's always the best way because then people are vetted to a point. And it may not always be the perfect fit for you, but at least going in, if Steve's saying like, oh yeah, I've known this guy for 10 years, chances are better. You know what I mean? It's not guaranteed, but like it's way higher than just some random person that you found on Instagram. You're like, oh, this guy's an attorney. He got so-and-so and so-and-so. I'm gonna go with him. But there's no proof of concept there for you. So I think obviously your first and foremost is your community right here and your family and your friends and your significant others. I think those are the key people that you have to really make sure you have solid in your group. And I think that can allow you to make the better decisions as you graduate up. I will say this is an important one too. Like be cautious of asking people's opinions that have never done it or have no knowledge in it. So that gets very dangerous. But let's say you get a deal from, let's say Sony offers somebody a record deal, right? And suddenly you're like, oh, my cousin's, husband is a, marriage family therapist. I'm going to have him look at the contract. Like, obviously it gets dangerous because that's not their expertise. So even though it may be a little more of a sacrifice to go, oh my gosh, I have to pay this money to have it reviewed. If it's your livelihood and your future, you have to take those things seriously and allow the people that are experts in that field to do what they do, right? And it's a slippery slope because I've been burned so many times, you know what I mean? And probably will be burned again because I guess you can only have so much knowledge and you've kind of got to trust your gut. I mean, for me, every time my gut has told me something and I didn't listen, it was a mistake. Your gut will almost always tell you. Even in relationships, like when we first meet someone, the red flags are just right in your face. But you're just like, oh my God, no, she's great. Like, no, she's awesome. They're like blatant. They're like in your face. And it's the same thing with business. I've had times where I'm like, God, am I making that? I'm not sure. Something feels weird. And then I'm like, beep, and I sign on the dotted line and then almost 99% of the time it will backfire on you. So trust your gut. I think it's incredibly important. And then it's also good, like you said, then you can go to your trusted circle of people and get advice from them as well. Not that you have to listen to what everyone says is not the end all be all. Because as I always say, especially for me as a producer or when I'm consulting or managing for an artist, like it's at the end of the day, they're the artist. They have to be happy and they have to make the decision that feels right for them.
Yeah. So in this setting, we have a lot of independent artists, good singers, hungry people wanting to. They're on the top. They're on the bottom of the mountain, moving up, right? Uh-huh. And some are further. So all different levels. Can they find their audience without Sony, without this? How does that work in the independent? Like, why did you start your own label?
Wow, so that's a much bigger conversation, but I'll try to crack open Pandora's box. So basically, yes, the answer is yes and yes and no at the same time, correct? So absolutely, people can do it. You can do it as an independent artist now, but you will have to still do the same work that a label would do, if that makes sense. So a lot of people think, oh, I'm just going to go throw my music up through DistroKid and it's just going to hit the algorithm and everybody's going to love me. Here's one that people don't want to hear. My opinion, you need to do probably minimum 60 pieces of content for every single you do. And you should be rolling out a single every 4 to 6 weeks. I know it sounds crazy. So I tell people, look, get your body of work ready and start slowly. It's called waterfall. It's a waterfall release. Because what happens is it just gets exponential. The algorithm goes, what's your name? Yeah. I'm Larry. Larry? Okay. So Larry, you put your single out and then boom, 6 weeks later you put out another single. And then all of a sudden the algorithm goes, okay, great. Larry's starting to release. Third one, boom, and release radar starts to grow. And if you're doing this on all the platforms that you should be, so for example, all the DSPs, Spotify, Tidal, Amazon, even the small ones, like try to address them as much as you can, because you all have access to a lot of the same tools that a label has access to now. So you can go into Spotify for artists, Amazon for artists, Tidal for artists. Some of these you can even pitch your own music. And a lot of people will go, oh, there's 100,000 songs coming out a day. How am I going to have a chance? That's how you're going to have a chance, right? Because you're putting in the work that a lot of people aren't willing to do. So in my opinion, if there's 100,000 songs coming out, 99,900 people are not going to do the little things that need to be done, meaning keeping up their social media, making sure your avatars match across all the platforms, your bios are updated, you went in and pitched your music, you put it up 3 to 4 weeks minimum before it's going to actually get released. Like all these things are small, but they're so important, right? And like I said, there's so many tools that you have access to now that people did not have in the past. I think it's a whole, the activations thing is a huge conversation that I love to have with people, because there's so many other things, depending on, obviously you need some sort of a budget. You have to decide what you're comfortable with, whether it's $100 or $1,000 or $10,000 or whatever that is. If you're lucky enough to maybe have a family member who's like, hey, I love your music, I'm going to help you. Let's figure out, where we want to allocate some of this, because it is tough. I mean, I don't think you can just throw something up there and it's just going to catch. But I will say social media is free promo. And I think, again, you just can't get discouraged. Now, I don't know if you guys know this, but on TikTok, it doesn't get shown to the same audience more than once. So meaning, for example, I have like 45,000 followers on TikTok, but my followers are hardly ever seeing what I'm putting up. It's always a new audience. So that's bad and good, right? On Instagram, it's different. On Instagram, it's hitting your, a chunk of your followers. And hopefully if you hit like the explore page or anything like that, it's going to hit more people. But my point being with TikTok, you can't put too much content. Some people will be like, oh, I don't want so many things in my feed. Who cares? How many people are actually going and parking on the feed and judging that? They're not going to do that. I mean, even like to me, like some of the best artists at social media, like Doechii is amazing. She'll put up a piece and then something else and then something else, all the same single. She'll just keep barraging you, because on TikTok, we're not going to see it. You're not going to get annoyed. So Instagram, YouTube Shorts, you may not want to go as crazy because somebody might unfollow if they see too much of it. But again, once a day, like even if you do 3 to 4 pieces of content a week, like you just need to start upping that once you drop that single. And pre-saves aren't as important as they used to be, but I still tell people, like, you still want to start slowly teasing it, and then when it drops, that's when the work really starts. That's when you really have to promote. Go out and do grassroots things too. Like, I know we're in a digital marketing age, but people forget the importance of going out, playing, even if there's 30 people in there. If 5 of those people become super fans, that's more valuable to me than 500 people just tapping like on a post, because they may not take the full action, right? So the more that you can grassroots and engage, like literally try and comment back to every single person that reaches out to you. Like literally, like I'm telling you, it will grow. Like I said, I've seen my socials go from, I think Instagram, I was at like 5K or something in 2022. I'm now at 178,000. And I test a lot of that just to like constant consistency. Not everything's going to do well. Some of them will bomb. You know what I mean? Some of the content bombs. But as long as you're doing what's authentic to you and you're consistent, the algorithm will reward that, and that will spill over. People forget everything's connected now, right? Especially now, again, that's a whole nother conversation with AI, but you can utilize AI to also route things and create extra pieces of content for you if you don't have the time in your day. And it's not going to cost you a lot of anything, a minimal, if nothing, right?
Yeah. Yes, that's exactly where I was headed. Wait, you have the first question?
Yes, I do.
Oh, please,
All right,
yeah.
go ahead. The young lady on the stage, right over here.
So obviously when Love Don't Cost a Thing came out,
Mhm.
it was like, was it part of her On the Six album?
No, it was the album after that.
After that.
Yeah.
So with something like that, obviously I want to know how big the bag was,
Mhm.
first of all.
Mhm.
But then my second question is, if a song like that wins a Grammy, then the bag gets even bigger, right? Like how does that work?
Yeah, that one did not win a Grammy, but it did really well for me. It's still obviously I sold 2 of my catalogs in 2022. So I still have, my name is still on there. But I sold my copyrights. I sold 2 of my catalogs because the multiple was right. So that's really the goal. If you're more of a songwriter than an artist, you want to build that catalog. And then at some point you can get a valuation and sell that. And then, it allows you to invest into other things in your life.
Oh wait, you didn't answer my first
Oh, wait.
question. How big was the bag? Like,
It was good, really good. But here's the thing. It comes in over a long period of time, right? So at first, like, you're like, whoa, and then it starts to sunset down a little bit, and then all of a sudden, like, international money starts to come in, and then this was obviously the pre-streaming era, so then we started seeing more money from streaming. So I'll basically tell people, like, if you have something connect to even top 10 on the Hot 100, it changes your entire life. Then you can finally quit your day job. Then you can get a publishing deal that will then sustain you moving forward. I did get really great advice from a guy named Steve Finfer, who's like a legendary publisher. He said, and I didn't know this, he said, the minute you have a top 10 hit, sell. He's like, don't hold on to it. He's like, you'll never get that amount of money again. He said, because there's so much hype behind your song. So for example, like my friend Brody helped write It Just Might, the new Bruno song, right? If he sold it right now, he'd probably get a insane buyout fee. Pardon me? Sometimes it's the major publishers. Sometimes there's like literally like venture capitalist firms now that come in and gobble up catalogs. Yeah, I ended up selling mine to BMG directly because they already had part ownership in my first catalog. But there's like tons of, I have friends that are they're literally brokers. And if they see something big blow up, they'll come in. They're like, all right, cool, that's the new Bad Bunny song. He's got 25% of it. They'll come in and go, hey, they'll do a crazy multiple, like a 20-time multiple. So basically what a multiple means is they average out what they think it's going to earn over a period of years. And the multiple is X amount of years. So if you get a 10-time multiple, they're basing it on 10 years of income. A 20-time multiple would be 20 years of income. So suddenly if they're saying, hey, we think this song's going to make 6 figures a year, do the math. Like if they give you a 10-time multiple, that's 10 million, right? Anyway, I don't know. My math is terrible. Yes. Yes, and I'm already feeling that a little bit because I sold some of my really big copyrights in my catalogs. I'm scared to death now that somebody's going to sample one of them, and then I'll get my name, but I don't own the song anymore, so I don't get any publishing on the back end. So that's definitely the con. That's probably the only con, to be honest with you, because like I said, you're still going to have your name on it. You still have the legacy of it. You just don't have royalty checks, and it's really painful because I don't know if you guys have talked with them about PROs. Performing rights organizations. So we'll get into that because it's a whole publishing thing. But basically, I still get the statements that shows what some of those songs make, but I don't get the money. So it's like, So I'm like, yeah. And then I'm like, oh no, I don't get all that. I get that much, because now I just get my catalog from 2016 on or something, like the last 10 years. All the rest was in the catalogs I sold.
So yes, go ahead. Next question. Well, I would say the big bag of money. But then the name of the momentum you have when, Damon Sharpe's the guy that wrote the song for J-Lo or Anastasia, that opens a door that's like insane.
But I will say this, and this is a big piece of advice for you guys. When that window is open, don't sleep. Get in every room you can, capitalize on it, because the window only lasts so long. And I can still get in rooms based on some of my credits, but if I'm not on like a hot streak, it limits, right? Suddenly the big rooms that I want, if I'm like, I want to get in with SZA, they're like, what did you work on lately, Damon? And like, come back when you got another big one. You know what I mean? So sometimes it gets I always say our business is the only one where it's just like they're basing it on like what you do at the moment, right? Like if George Lucas never did another movie after Star Wars, people would be like, oh, that's George Lucas. He did Star Wars. We need him, right? But in music, it's very like, You see it with artists, right? Some of your favorite artists, they'll be like, oh, Gaga's record was amazing. And then the next one, like, "Ugh, Gaga, she's over. She's done. You know what I mean? It's so like, it can be so jaded. So I think it's incredibly important when that window is open to keep that window open for as long as you can. And I've had a few of those moments. And I told my wife and my daughter, I was like, babe, I call them catalyst moments. I'm like, when another catalyst moment come, it's going to be nonstop. You know what I mean? We're going to do everything we can to keep that window open. Oh, yeah.
Larry, did we ask Larry? Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I guess the question is like, so at what point would you say that, or what would you say is the point where you know that you've made the transition between I'm still building my craft, still doing all this stuff, like maybe on my own.
Mm-hmm.
Now is the time to start publishing, pushing, like that I know enough of who I am. Because like, obviously like the voice that you have when you start,
It's going to change, yeah.
it always changes, but like at what point do you say like, okay, I'm at a point where now where I feel confident in putting my stuff out in the open?
Okay, that's a great question, because sometimes we can be so precious that we're not putting things out into the world. You can always take it down. Like you can literally, let's say you're ingesting through DistroKid, if you don't like your old music, just take it down. You know what I mean? There's going to be a couple of fingerprints that are going to live out there, but it's nothing where people are going to be like, oh, I don't want to mess with Larry's new music because of that old music. So I think you should test the waters. I think you should just start getting stuff out there. I know it's a scary thing. Like we all want our shit to be perfect, and it's never going to be perfect, right? Because we're artists, so we're always going to be like, that mix could have been better, and I wish that kick sounded different. Oh, I hate my vocal was pitchy right there. But I think you have to like take the leap and start putting it out there into the ether, and then that will also help you discover who you want to be, but more importantly, it'll help you discover who your audience is, because we forget, like now we have fucking crazy analytics. Like it gets so granular. It's age, it's ethnicity, it's gender, it's where they live down to the city. So like look at those analytics and go, oh damn, my song's blowing up in Chicago. Like maybe I should find a way to get out there and do a local show. Or, there's so many analytics that you can use. And then you can also see what songs are reacting and which songs aren't reacting. Like again, free. Spotify for Artists. You go in there, it'll tell you the percentage of saves. So let's say you got 10,000 streams and it's a 5% stream rate. You got, was that 50 or 500? No, that's 500 saves. So you can go, okay, this one got 500, but this new single got, 6,000, you know what I mean? And then you're like, okay, clearly people are gravitating towards this, right? And not that you have to, I don't want you to bend your art for, the audience, but if you're trying to discover your demographics and your artist, then that's pretty crucial. But I digress. My whole point is I would say just start getting things out there into the ether, because it could be perpetual where you'll turn around and a year later you'll be like, I really want to start releasing music, So as long as it's to a point where you're comfortable with it, I would start rolling it out sooner than later. Okay. Yes.
I have two questions.
Okay.
So the first one, you were talking about like the algorithm and dropping every 4 to 6 weeks.
Mm-hmm. And that's no hard set rule. That's just my opinion of what I've heard helps the algorithm. Yeah.
It makes sense, like especially how the Instagram algorithm is. So my question is, if you're dropping, because you also talked about budget, right?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So if you're dropping every 4 to 6 weeks, what is the quality threshold of what you should be dropping? Because there's some songs that are a great song, and you're like, maybe I shouldn't put it out yet because maybe I need to put a little bit more budget into it, or do you just feel like this is already a great song? Let me just try,
Yeah, I call those like focal singles or holy grail singles. Like those are the ones that you want to hold on to, like you said, and maybe waterfall with the ones that you're just like, oh, this one's cool. The irony is though, the one that you didn't think was it might be the one that connects. That's what I've learned. I've been like, oh, I don't know, this one's cool, I'll throw it out there. And then that's the one that pops off, not the one that I thought was going to be the one that blows up.
Do you think it's more worth to focus on not being so precious with all of your
100%. That's just my opinion. Like I said, there's a very famous producer, songwriter named David Foster, and he has like the 10 rules for songwriting. And one of his is don't be so precious. Like we're not, it's not rocket science. We're not solving brain cancer. It's art. And we can't be so, I was like that in the beginning. Like I'd be like, I'm saving this one. I don't want to give this one to this artist. And then you learn, you're like, hey, because give it here. It's got like, you just don't know where it's going to connect. Like I said, that's the one thing now, and I've been 25 years in as a producer songwriter. And one of my biggest takeaways is you just don't know what's going to be the one. You think, a label will tell you, this is going to be the biggest one ever. This is going to blow up. And then it just doesn't connect for whatever. Literally, like the planets have to align. Like it's divine intervention. Like it has to line up, and obviously that starts with a great song, but all those dots have to connect.
Yeah, I had another question.
Yeah.
One of my biggest regrets, though, was not dropping when I first started, because I had so many great songs for back then, and then when I got here, I was like, I can't drop this now, you know?
Right, because then you've already morphed into the new era of what you're doing. No, it makes sense.
The question was about for vocalists, right?
Okay.
So like I worked with a couple managers. I've done background vocals for an artist that you named.
Okay.
Right. So for a vocalist who's doing background vocals, when you get paid for that,
Okay.
you don't usually really get paid up front if there's a label involved.
Right.
So is that something you should sign a contract
Yes.
before you do that session?
It's tough, right? Because if you're too hard to deal with, they won't want to deal with you. So it's a weird, but I would say but then after that, get your paperwork straight, because, right, it's SAG-AFTRA. And if it's a major label, there's good money. I've sang backgrounds on some things that I didn't produce. So I was a writer, but I also did vocals. So I got paid a session fee from per SAG-AFTRA. I don't know what it is now, but it's like definitely a few $100. It's a decent, but then more importantly, you'll see some royalties on the back end if it does really well. So I would say get that paperwork straight. Yes, yeah. You can give them the link to SAG-AFTRA. They have like contracts on their website for session singers, for musicians, whatever it is you're doing.
Do you have any advice for if you're like more of a live musician and you're like invited at one point to be in a studio musician? Because like I tried to do that once and it was let's just say it was very unwilling.
Meaning just their skill set that they were at, or what do you mean?
Well, just like it's like with the studio session, it's kind of like they throw you in like there.
Yeah.
Okay, this is what we're doing. It's very much like that Back to the Future scene where it's like, okay, this is.
Yes. Yep. Yeah.
Okay. And like you're just like, oh, okay.
Well, I would just say get to a place where you would be comfortable no matter what's thrown at you. So like I have very good friends, Jesse and Mike, who they rent one of the studios at my studio from me. I've known Jesse's wife for like 20 years and I've known them for about 2 or 3 years, but they are in a world of no more session players. They are the guys. Like they play horns for Pharrell, Ray, Sabrina, Teddy Swims, everybody. My point being, like you said, if I said to them, oh bro, here's the track, they'll listen once and then they can play it back. But they also read music as well. So if that's something that you're serious about, now here's the thing. If this was like 1990, I'd be like, go all in, right? Because people used to clean up as studio musicians. The thing is, it doesn't exist as much anymore. So it's a much tighter clique. But again, if you can be part of that clique, like I said, these guys they play on everything because they're like become the go-to guys, right? So if you can become one of those go-to guys or go-to girls, you can get a lot of work and they make a lot of money. But like you said, you've got to also be at a comfortable place. Like even for me, I've been doing this long. Sometimes I'm like, oh my God, I got to win. And if I don't have some sort of an idea started, like it stresses me out. Because then on the spot, yeah, you have to like come up with something from scratch right on the spot. And sometimes it's not good. So I go in, like sometimes I'll go in with artists. I did something do you guys know what Dead by Daylight is? It's a horror video game. So I just did something for that. And they wanted 10 ideas to choose from. So I was just like, I just started scrambling and I knew all of them were good and they needed them in like 48 hours. So I just sat and banged them out, and it's a vulnerable place to be in, right? Because you're like, I don't know if these are good. I don't even know if they're going to take something, but it's kind of the same thing. Once you get there, you just have to feel in your heart that you're ready. No matter what gets thrown at you, you just roll with it. It's almost like the old adage of people say, have you ever, I don't know, have you ever ran a coffee shop and you haven't? You're like, yeah. And then you just learn. You just jump right in and learn it as you go.
That was the other thing I was thinking about earlier as being young. Just say yes to most everything that comes your way. Mm-hmm. Don't get caught up in, they're going to pay this or someone's going to get paid or that's not industry standard. Just say yes.
Yeah.
And go. Same thing. Do you do music for television? I'm like,
yep.
Yes. And then I'm like, okay. Let's and we cut it all live, and then but then sometimes it doesn't work, but with the times that it does work, you're like, then you become he's the guy that did the music for this show, and then it opens up a whole other door that you're like, okay, I guess to these people I'm just this TV guy, to this person over here I'm the guy that mixes, to this one I'm the writer, I'm the lyricist over here. So it's to saying yes. And if you notice throughout the night, the different subjects that we talked on, how he's taken those different categories and he's become an expert in every category, so he knows how the whole equation works, and it fits who he is. Different equations will be with the equations will be different inside of each of us of what that means, but the balance that is there, I think, is the key. Artists have a hard time.
Especially nowadays. I think back in the day, you could get away with just doing one thing. I think now as an artist, you have to wear many, many hats, especially until you're fortunate enough to have a full team behind you. But for now, like, you have to wear a lot of hats. I mean, there's so many memes that float around where you're like, right, an artist in 2026. And it's like producer, director, mixer, comedian. It's like you have to wear all the hats. I want to touch on, before it goes out my ADHD brain, talking about contracts as well ties into the saying yes to things. I think so many young artists, and I was the same way, you're like, I don't know if this deal, it sounds terrible. I call it this, you're going to hate to even hear this, it's the cost of entry. So my first publishing deal sucked, right? It was a perpetuity deal. I didn't get a lot of money up front. But you know what? I had to go through that one to get to the next one. I heard Dave Chappelle, he was bitching about Comedy Central. I didn't make this money. I didn't make that money. Now you're a multi-millionaire. You can write your own ticket now. So guess what? That was the cost of entry, right? It's not always going to be the dream scenario. And again, you'll know in your gut if it's completely not a fair deal, especially nowadays. Throw something into ChatGPT. Is this industry standards? Punch holes in this contract for me, and it'll come back and it'll give you can ask specifically for pros and cons. Is this industry standard? Now, it's not the end all be all. It's not the same as a human at this point, like, because we operate with, I guess, more emotion, right? And humanness, but it is a great tool to use if you need it for something that you're like iffy or on the fence about.
Couple more questions?
Yeah.
Oh, she had one. Sorry, I know she had been waiting for a while.
Yeah. Okay. So, what are the best ways to find your audience? Is it like open mics? Like, if you're just starting out, is it like podcasts, vlogging? Like you're just beginning like the music journey. And then for context, like I was sharing some of my lyrics just like with friends or sharing little snippets of the song, and most like Christian friends like love it. They can't wait for me to drop it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm teasing them. But then I have one non-Christian who like believes in God, and he was like, look, like it sounds like it's gonna be good. He's an artist, but he's like, you're gonna turn off a lot of people that are like not Christian because you're explicitly bringing up God or Jesus, even if it's your journey. But he's like, I just fear like, I wonder if you could just be yourself and talk about your struggles or your life rather than bringing God or Jesus into it. And as I'm starting, because he's like, you're so talented, I love your singing, I love the beats and everything, he's like, you're gonna turn off a lot of people.
Well, my easy answer to that is I don't think you should compromise you or your message or who you are. I would do you know what I mean? And don't worry about what other people think. Like I said, it all comes back to what I said earlier, which is your authenticity. Because here's the thing, every person is not going to love every artist, right? So for every artist that loves Taylor Swift, there's a bunch of us over here that, not us, there's a bunch of people that don't care for her. Do you know what I'm saying? So, that's the same thing. You're never going to be able to please everybody. So you should just please the audience of people that resonate with your message and your music.
They have been Christian so far, but it's like I do, like there is a part of me though that's like, well, I was supposed to be the light for like the non-believers, but I'm like, if they just start like getting it irritated or annoyed by me, then it's just, it is what it is. But it's not like I'm pushing it down their throats, but he caught like probably within the song, like I think it was like something about like I follow him or something. It's like very clear.
Well, sorry, not to cut you off. You can also, this is where it also like go in for the deep dive on the rewrite, right? So I was working earlier. There's a writer named Bonnie McKee. I don't know if you guys know who she is. She wrote literally every big Katy Perry song from Last Friday Night, California Girls, you name it. And she is one of the people that one of her, because I have a bunch of sayings. Her saying is the beauty of a song is in the rewrite, right? So that, you don't have to do this, but you could go, all right, I'm going to challenge myself. How can I make this lyric still authentic to me, but to make it resonate with a more universal audience? So like U2, for example, people don't even realize U2 is a Christian band because the way that they wrote their lyrics, it appealed to everyone, right? It didn't matter what color, where you're from, what age you are, what religion you are, like it resonates. So not that you have to do that, but if you want to challenge it, go for it. Go, all right, how can I change this lyric and still say the same message, but make it palatable to an audience? Because for me as a songwriter and a producer, I'm always trying to think, because for me, even my artist stuff is not really like what I go through in my life, You know what I'm saying? It's just more fun dance songs, right? But so when I'm channeling things for other artists, I just want to bring out the best in them, right? So I'm like, all right, so what are you going through? What's authentic to you? And it's not always going to be the same. Like I said, there might be somebody like I can't even think of an example, like Flow Rider, right? He's not writing songs that are deep. He's just writing fun party songs for people. Pitbull, same thing. They're just writing fun party music, you know? So, but for you, if you have that message and you want to get the message out there, then again, you either completely just do it the way you want to do it, or you go, hey, I'm still going to do it how I want to do it, but let me challenge this. Let me word it in a different way where I'm still getting to say my message, but now this guy is like, whoa, I resonate with it too.
Yeah, I think
It's just a choice.
It's more of like, I'm not there. Like, I can't resonate because he's not there in the situation.
True.
So I think like I'm not taking it as rejection or he's being judgmental. I'm just like, how can I take this back now? It's like, this is someone who's not quite where I am with Jesus, but like he's still trying. Like, how can I listen to her and like her? But like I don't live like that.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Let's do one more. Who hasn't asked? Sorry.
He's been waiting.
Okay. Yeah.
That guy over there.
So this statement, if you're good at something, don't do it for free. Is that kind of out?
Who again? It's a slippery slope, right? Because if it means it's going to get you in the door, like there was a point when I think he knows. I was a runner intern at Larrabee Studios for like a year, right? And it wasn't free, but it was like below minimum wage, cleaning toilets, like getting food for people. But guess what? Like I was able to hone my skills, and I met so many people that I still work with today, like all these years later. So, you know, sometimes I mean, even if you just say to somebody, look, I can't do this for free. Can you at least take care of my gas and my food and maybe $50 or whatever? Find a sweet spot where you feel comfortable. Because if it is going to become a long-term thing and you do it for free, then they might take advantage of that. So unfortunately, and I don't want to leave it on this note, but so much of what we do within music falls into like a gray area, right? So it's really a case-by-case basis, and you have to really, again, go with your gut. If you're like, this person wants me to do it for free and I just don't, there's something that something doesn't feel right here. There's your gut again. Listen to it. But if somebody's like, hey, we're really tight on budget. I'm so sorry. I can't pay you for this one, but if you help me out, I promise I'm going to bring you in for the next one. Then you're going to be like, you know what? Let me take a shot. And either it will pan out or you'll get burned and then you won't work with that person again. It still happens to me 25 years in. Like there's so many situations where like, oh, can you?
He's here tonight. You know what I mean?
There you go. But I'm getting a big check, all right? No, I'm just kidding. It's right here. This is the payment.
So, some of my biggest openings was me taking the step of doing it for free.
Yep.
One of them was, do you do music for television? I said yes. And I did 60-something spots.
Dang.
And for free. And with the promise of back end, which usually means nothing. And it worked. And now to this day, I own the back end, which they don't even do those deals. And so it worked. But that might be 1 out of 5. Yeah. But it did work. And it made me, I learned how to do it. Like it was taking the thing that you weren't used to doing. It was like, okay, well, at least now I know how to do it. Whether anything happens, I put myself through that fire to learn that craft or something that was more of a chance.
And honestly, I will also say for me at this point, at least 50% of the time it's on spec. And with the biggest artists, they're the ones that are the worst. Yeah, they'll be like, oh, well, there's no production fee, but are you willing to come in and work with so-and-so? And I'm always like, yep. Like, let's do it. Because like you said, it could pan out. You may not get the cut with that artist, but you might meet a new co-writer who you're like, oh my God, I'm clicking with this person. I'm going to work with this person forever. So it almost always leads to something else.
We'll do one last with Caden.
I got one last.
Yeah.
He's the man.
All right.
You can run this one.
Nice.
With the AI era,
Oh yeah.
so much easier, faster.
Yep.
But it's also making us dumber. So
Correct.
we keep up with the pace of the AI era without dumbing ourselves down.
Wow. Man. I know. Trust me. I'm trying to do this. I was an early adopter of a lot of the AI technologies, and I even do beta testing for some of the companies because I don't want to become that guy that's like, oh, when I did music, kids are using this AI. Like I said, you have to make it a tool and put it in your tool belt. But I think still at the end of the day, we have to be the tastemakers, right? AI can only pull from what's already been done. So you can utilize this. So for example, I'll give you some examples of how I use it in my workflow sometimes. I was in with a guy named Brasco last week, me and another guy, but we wanted to do something for a K-pop girl group. So we know we can write those lyrics, but obviously we can't sing it. So we did the whole demo. I dumped it into Suno, prompted it. It spit out a killer sounding female vocal. I took that, I put that back into Pro Tools, and then I mixed it. And then now I had a demo that I could pitch. Now, obviously, I'm probably not going to utilize those vocals because it'll be a new artist that will cut it. But I think also it's a great, I call it an inspiration engine, right? So it's like maybe you had an old voice memo from 2 years ago and you're like, man, I don't really know what to do with this. Throw it in. And then it spits something out. It's never going to be, well, maybe at some point it will be perfect, but it's not going to be perfect for what you want as an artist. But you might get inspired and go, oh my God, I wouldn't have structured it like that. Like that's a crazy BPM and it's swinging different than I would have it swing. But I think at the end of the day, we have to be the tastemakers, ultimately over any of the, but we've always used technology, right? Whether it's plug-in EQs or, a rack-mounted H3000, like there's technology's always there. It's just different iterations of it. So I think, I went to a Grammy event and Harvey Mason, who's the head of the Grammys, was there. Him and will.i.am, who's like 50% genius and 50% absolutely crazy. But they had like some really interesting things to say. And my biggest takeaway was Harvey said, and I looked back and I'm like, he's right. He said, for the last year, there hasn't been some form of AI that was used in the session, whether it was, starting an idea and then throwing it in and seeing what it turned into, or, using ChatGPT, like you're stuck on a lyric and it might jog like I was in Korea in October and I had to do 4 days back to back. I was the only English lyricist. So I was like, by day 4, I was done. And I was halfway through a verse and I was like, and then I just went, oh, I can just throw this in the chat. And it gave me maybe like 10 options. I didn't end up using it verbatim, but I was like, oh, I wouldn't have thought of that word. And then it got me out of my writer's block, right? So I think we just need to use it as a tool, but not forget who we are as the tastemakers and the artists.
So the young songwriter still needs to go through that journey of
absolutely,
learning how to
yeah,
write the song to be able to know what to bar or to feed into the Sunos or whatever. And then, but auto-tune, if you think about it, we've been
that's AI basically.
That's AI.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like people don't realize it's been here for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So we're going to end with this last thing. I just have a request. A question. What is your favorite hat to wear, just as you as a person, out of all the different categories? What do you just find the most consistent joy doing?
Jeez, I mean, aside from being a father, that's.
Oh well, yes, yeah, of course, yeah, that's.
Damn. It's tough. I think it changes, right? I think some days I'm like, oh my God, I love doing production. And some days when I'm deep in like songwriting process, I'm like, oh my God, I love this. And then for me, like I said, selfishly as a DJ, I like playing my shows because I'm so in the studio as a studio rat that it's nice to be out and doing this and interacting with people and exchanging energy, right? Because sometimes, I'll be with other people in the studio, but it's like 2 other people and we're just ping-ponging ideas. But yeah, I think it changes. And sometimes I love just being able to impart knowledge. That's one of my, it just depends on the day. Sometimes it's talking about marketing and promotion. I mean, like you said, I think I've really pushed myself over the last decade or so to at least maybe not be an expert in every field, but at least have enough knowledge to know what I'm talking about if I get in the room with somebody. Because like he said, like sometimes they might not bring you in for one thing, but they'll bring you in for something else. So I've had projects where they brought me in to consult and give advice, and then I ended up producing. And then there's somewhere I ended up producing, and they brought me in to consult. So it just,
All right, can we give it up for Damon, Sharpe?
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Our vision for here, I said it earlier, is for this kind of atmosphere to be created in the rooms down here with writing, producing, throwing ideas off, learning together, growing together. So did you ever go to Mazzaretti's place?
Yes. Only once. I went there for like a Christmas party.
So did you have, they had all the breakout rooms?
Yeah. Do they not have it anymore?
No.
Oh, man.
But I had Spider come here. And
Okay.
I was like, and I asked him, I was like, how did you guys make that work? And he goes, that's the $1 million question. Or how do you turn a profit in that? He was like, that's the $1 million question. But it was so electric to see all these young artists working together, creating something that could be anything, like the next big thing.
I have one more thing. Sorry, before I forget. I always forget this because it feels cringy, but this is one thing I want you guys to get past as well. So I think as artists, we feel a little cringe, like promoting ourselves, right? But some of the best artists I've seen, you know, we'll walk into a coffee shop and they'll be like, "Hey, I'm Damon. Hey, nice to meet you." Like, bro, yeah, follow me. I'm on Instagram. It's at Damon Sharpe. You know, so don't be afraid to do those things. I know it feels inherently kind of like, I don't want to do that, but there's nothing wrong with being proud of your work, and that's going to be the best way to discover. Because you go to Starbucks, Larry, and you're like, "Hey, yo, my name is Larry. Here's my handle," and then they're like, "Yo, I met this really cool guy at Starbucks. Like, check out his music," and then all of a sudden, it's traveling. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. And then you're repeating that the next day. And
yeah, that's what I'm saying. So try to get past that. For me, it was very difficult, but now I'm like, all right, guys, at Damon Sharpe, DamonSharpe on all platforms. Please follow me. I'll follow you back. But yeah, don't be afraid. Shameless self-promotion, honestly, especially if it's coming from an authentic place, will resonate, and you will gain those super fans. Like, we didn't get to touch on that, but the term now, I think they said, if you have 1,000 engaged super fans, you can make a living off that.
there you go.
You can genuinely make a living off that.
Yeah, and it's honest. It's real. They're your friends. Maybe we'll have Damon come back and we'll pay him a lot of money next time.